The entire alien court froze the moment the princess started crying. Not quiet tears. Not royal composure. Real, uncontrolled sobs in front of hundreds of nobles. And she was pointing at a human. You're the one. Her voice trembled like it carried the weight of decades. Adrien stopped mid-step on the polished white floor and slowly turned his head. For a second he actually looked behind himself, because there was no way she meant him. He didn't belong here. Everything about the Irian royal hall screamed power. Towering crystal arches, glowing with soft violet light, stretching high above an ocean of polished stone. Outside the open balconies, starships drifted between floating palace towers like silent giants. And in the middle of it all stood Adrien, a freelancer, worn jacket, scuffed boots, a small bag over his shoulder. Nothing impressive, nothing important. Yet the princess of the Irian Empire was staring at him like she had just found something she had lost forever. "I'm sorry," Adrien said carefully. "Me?" She nodded. Then she ran. Gasps rippled across the chamber like a shockwave. "Your Highness," guards called out, their sleek armor shifting as they stepped forward. But she didn't stop. She rushed down the long staircase, her silver hair flowing behind her, her glowing violet eyes locked on him with desperate certainty.
She stopped only a few feet away.
And then, she broke. Tears streamed freely down her face. The entire court fell into stunned silence. Adrien shifted awkwardly. "Oh," he muttered under his breath. "That's probably not good." A tall royal advisor stepped forward immediately, his expression tightening. "Your Highness," he said carefully, "what is the meaning of this?" She didn't look at him. "He's the one," she whispered. The advisor frowned. "The one who what?" Her hand lifted and pointed straight at Adrien. "My mother has been searching for him." A ripple of whispers spread instantly. "For how long?" The princess didn't hesitate. 30 years. That hit harder. Even the air in the chamber felt heavier. Adrien scratched the back of his neck. "Okay," he said slowly. "I feel like I missed something important." The nobles murmured louder now. "A human? A freelancer? The queen searched 30 years for him?" The advisor stepped closer, studying Adrien carefully. "State your designation." Adrien shrugged. "Just Adrien. Your profession?" "Pilot." "What class?" Adrien hesitated. "Freelance." That made it worse. The reaction was immediate. "A freelancer?" one noble whispered in disbelief. The princess stepped closer again, her voice shaking. "You don't remember me." Adrien looked at her more carefully now. Silver hair, glowing eyes, elegant, unfamiliar features. But something about her expression. It felt distant. Familiar in a way he couldn't explain. "I'm sorry," he said gently. "Should I?" Her lips trembled. "You saved my life." The words echoed across the massive hall. Adrien blinked. "I did." The advisor stepped in sharply. "Your Highness, this may be a mistake."
"No."
Her voice cut through him instantly.
"Certain."
Unshakable. She stepped closer, searching Adrien's face. "It was you," she said softly. "You came when no one else did." Adrien frowned slightly. "When?" 30 years ago." A wave of whispers broke out again. That would make her a child. Adrien tilted his head. "Well, I was alive 30 years ago," he admitted. The advisor's tone sharpened. "Have you ever entered Irian territory before today?"
"No."
"Encountered the royal family?" "Not that I know of." Then suddenly, the princess grabbed his hand. The guards tensed instantly. Energy flickered along their weapons. But Adrien didn't react. He just looked down at her glowing fingers wrapped around his. "They were pirates," she said quietly. Something shifted. A faint memory. Static over a comm channel. A weak distress signal. Adrien narrowed his eyes. "That sounds familiar." The court leaned in. "You remember something?" the advisor asked quickly. Adrien rubbed his temple. "Maybe." The princess stepped closer, voice barely steady. "My ship was attacked. I was trapped in an escape pod." The memory cracked open. A broken transmission. Stars spinning through cracked glass. A small voice trying not to panic. Adrien exhaled slowly. Yeah, he said. I think I pulled someone out of trouble once. Her grip tightened instantly. You stayed with me, she said. You talked to me so I wouldn't be afraid. Adrien blinked. That does sound like something I'd do. You guided me through the asteroid field.
Yeah.
Definitely something I'd do. And when rescue arrived, she hesitated. You were gone. Adrien shrugged. I had somewhere to be. The chamber erupted into murmurs.
He left.
No reward. No identity. The princess looked at him again, eyes shining. My mother searched the galaxy for you. Adrien glanced around the massive hall filled with stunned alien nobles. Well, he said quietly, that explains the invitation. The advisor stared at him. You had no idea why you were summoned? Adrien smiled faintly. Nope. The mood shifted. Completely. They weren't looking at him the same way anymore. Not dismissive. Not skeptical. Something else. Something uncertain. The princess squeezed his hand. I told you, she whispered. It was him. The older advisor stepped forward slowly. There is something else. The room went silent again. The pirate vessel that attacked the princess. He paused. It was destroyed. Adrien frowned. Okay. A hologram activated between them. A warship appeared. Split cleanly in half. No burn marks. No explosions. Just cut. Adrien stared at it. I didn't do that. The advisor nodded slowly. That is the problem. Silence tightened across the chamber. Because now, this wasn't just about a rescue anymore. The advisor looked directly at Adrien. If you did not destroy that ship. He paused. Every eye locked onto the human. Then what did? Adrien opened his mouth. Then stopped. A memory surfaced. A flash.
His instrument's going dead.
A shadow moving through space. Something enormous. He rubbed his temple slowly. That day was weird. The princess leaned closer. What did you see? Adrien hesitated, then said quietly. I thought it was debris. The court leaned in. How big? The advisor asked. Adrien looked at the shattered warship again, then answered. Bigger than that. And, in that moment, every alien in the room felt it. A quiet, growing fear. Because whatever had saved the princess had not been human. And somehow, it had been watching Adrien. The silence didn't fade. It deepened. The kind that pressed against the chest, forcing even the nobles to think twice before breathing. Because the story had shifted. It was no longer about a rescue. It was about something none of them understood. The advisor stepped forward slowly, glowing eyes fixed on Adrien. You said you saw something, he said. A shadow. Adrien rubbed his neck.
Yeah.
Just for a second. That is enough, the advisor replied. The princess moved closer, still holding his hand. Please try to remember. Adrien closed his eyes. The palace disappeared. No marble. No nobles. No tension. He was back in the cockpit. Flickering consoles. A dying distress signal. Pirate-controlled space. He remembered the hesitation.
Just one moment.
No backup. No reward. Only risk. Then, he turned the ship anyway. Back toward the signal. Back toward someone alone. Adrien opened his eyes. There were other ships, he said. A ripple passed through the court. We know, the advisor said. I saw them, Adrien continued. Long-range scan. None responded. The princess tightened her grip. And none came. No, Adrien said. The word landed heavily. Not as fact. As judgment. The advisor studied him. And yet you went. It was a distress call. That is not sufficient reasoning. Adrien tilted his head. It is for me. Silence. Because that answer didn't belong in their logic. The princess looked at him. You knew it was dangerous?
Yeah.
And you still went. Adrien exhaled. Someone was alone. That mattered more. No one spoke. The advisor narrowed his eyes. Continue. Adrien nodded. The pod was failing. Life support dropping. She was slipping. The princess lowered her gaze. I stayed with her, Adrien said. Just talked. Anything. Didn't matter what. Why? So, She wouldn't think she was dying alone. That hit harder than anything else. The princess whispered, "You stayed the whole time?"
Yeah.
"Even with pirates nearby?"
Yeah.
"Even with risk to your ship?"
Yeah.
Simple answers. Heavy meaning. The advisor exhaled. "And the pirates engaged?"
Yeah.
"What did you do?" Adrien hesitated. "I talked to them too." Instant reaction. "You what?" A noble snapped. "I opened a channel," Adrien said. "Delayed them." The advisor narrowed his eyes. "You attempted negotiation with pirates?" "Not negotiation," Adrien corrected. "Disruption." The princess stared at him. "You sounded calm," she said. "I wasn't," Adrien replied. But they hesitated.
Yeah.
"Why?" Adrien shrugged. "I didn't act afraid." That changed the tone in the room. Because fear was expected. And he gave none. The advisor leaned forward. "Then what happened?" Adrien's expression tightened. "My instruments died." "Entire systems?" Everything went silent. The room stilled. "And I saw it." "The shadow," the princess whispered. Adrien nodded. "No ship. No lights. No structure." He struggled for words. "Just presence." "Wrong. Massive. Unformed." The advisor spoke quietly. "And the pirates?" "Gone. No weapons fired. Nothing." Silence collapsed over the court, because that meant only one thing. Unknown force. The princess whispered, "It saved us." The advisor replied coldly, "It removed a threat." "Those are not the same." Adrien frowned. "You think it wasn't protecting her?" "I think we don't know what it's protecting." The room chilled. Now the focus shifted. From her
To him.
Adrien exhaled. "That's not comforting." "No," the advisor said. "It isn't." Then, a vibration. Subtle, but real. The floor hummed. Lights flickered. A guard turned sharply. Energy spike detected. "Source?" The guard hesitated. "Orbital space." The palace expanded into a holographic star map. Then it appeared. Signals. Dozens. Hundreds. Massive structures awakening in orbit. The advisor stepped back. "That's impossible." Adrien stared upward. "Those are ships." The princess whispered. "No." The advisor said, "The Sentinels." Shock spread. "They're myths. They're inactive. They don't respond." Adrien crossed his arms. "They look active." The advisor turned to him slowly. "And they are." Another console flared. "Every unit online."
A pause.
Command authority detected. The room froze. A single signal dominated the network.
Bright. Clear.
Adrien Mercer. He pointed at himself. "That's definitely not normal." The princess looked at him. "You didn't know?" "I swear I didn't." Above them, ancient warships awakened. And every single one was responding to him. The star map didn't fade. It expanded. Layer after layer of orbital structures unfolded across the chamber like a waking god stretching after eons of sleep. The Sentinels weren't just ships. They were a network. A buried civilization of steel and light that had been waiting in silence far above their world. And now every line of that network pointed to one man, Adrien Mercer. Adrien stared at the glowing sigil hovering in the center of the map. "Okay," he muttered, voice lower now. "This is officially getting out of hand." No one laughed. No one even breathed. The advisor stepped closer to the projection, eyes scanning rapidly. "Command authority is not a random occurrence," he said. "It must be assigned." Adrien raised a hand slightly. "I didn't assign anything." "That is not how Sentinel architecture works," the advisor snapped. "Then maybe your Sentinels are broken," Adrien replied. A flicker of tension passed through the room. The princess stepped forward, still holding his hand like it was the only stable thing left in reality. "Could it be a mistake?" she asked quietly. The advisor didn't answer immediately. Because the system wasn't showing error. It was showing obedience. And that was worse. A guard suddenly spoke up. Orbital signatures shifting. The map zoomed. Massive shapes in orbit began to move, slowly at first, like sleepers adjusting in their graves. Then faster. Formations aligning. Not random. Not chaotic. Precise. Military precision. Adrien watched the movement. They're forming a perimeter, he said. The advisor turned sharply. Around what? No one answered. Because the answer was obvious. Around them. Around the planet. A planetary shield forming in real time. The princess looked up at Adrien. Why would they do that? Adrien swallowed. I don't know. But deep down, that wasn't entirely true. Because something about the way the shadow had appeared in his memory still lingered. Not hostile. Not friendly. Just aware. The advisor stepped back from the projection. This level of activation requires a primary key. His eyes locked onto Adrien again. A living command anchor. Adrien blinked. I'm a mechanic. You were inside a restricted war zone, the advisor said sharply. You accessed distress channels. You survived a Sentinel-class anomaly encounter. And now an entire dormant fleet responds to you.
He leaned in.
Do you still think you are just a mechanic? Adrien didn't answer, because every explanation he had was collapsing faster than he could rebuild it. The princess tightened her grip. He saved me, she said firmly. The advisor glanced at her. That is not in question.
Then what is? She asked.
A pause. Then the advisor said it plainly. Whether he is the trigger or the target. The room went cold again. Adrien slowly looked up. Target? The advisor gestured to the star map. These sentinels were not built to respond. He zoomed into one of the massive orbital structures. They were built to decide. A ripple of unease passed through the court. To decide what? Adrien asked. The advisor hesitated. What deserves to continue? Silence dropped like a weight. Adrien exhaled slowly. That's a pretty extreme security system. It is not security, the advisor replied. It is judgment. A sudden alarm chirped through the chamber. Not loud,
but sharp.
One of the orbital icons changed color. From blue to gold. Then another. And another. The pattern spread like fire. The guard stumbled back. New directive incoming. The hologram shifted again. A transmission. Not audio. Not visual. Something deeper. A structured pulse of data forcing itself into every active system. The advisor's eyes widened. No, it's initiating synchronization. Adrien stepped back slightly. With what? The answer came instantly. The signal wrapped around him. The sigil in the air responded to his movement. When he moved, it moved. When he breathed, it stabilized. The princess looked terrified now. Adrien. I know, he said quietly. I feel it too. Because he did. Not physically, but somewhere underneath thought. Like a door slowly unlocking in a part of him he didn't remember building. The advisor raised a hand. Cut all external links. A guard tried, then froze. I can't, it's not routed through us. It's routed through him, another said. All eyes turned to Adrien again. The star map dimmed for a second, then projected a single image. A memory. Not theirs.
His.
The cockpit. The distress signal. The moment he turned the ship.
But now.
There was something else layered beneath it. A second presence. Watching. Waiting. The same shadow. Adrien took a slow step back. That wasn't just random, was it? No one answered. Because the sentinels already had. The advisor spoke carefully. You were not the first responder. Adrien's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? The hologram shifted again. More memories. More signals. Hundreds of failed rescue attempts. Ships that turned away. Ships that never reached the coordinates. And then, Adrien. The only one who went anyway. The only one who didn't calculate probability of survival. The only one who didn't hesitate long enough to be redirected. The advisor whispered. It selected you because you were the only one who would move. Adrien let out a breath. That's not selection. That's just bad luck. But even as he said it, the sentinels responded. The orbital fleet adjusted again. Closer alignment. Stronger synchronization. The princess stepped in front of him slightly, as if shielding him from the room itself. They're not attacking, she said. The advisor nodded slowly.
No.
A pause. They are waiting. Adrien frowned. For what? The star map dimmed. Then every sentinel icon turned simultaneously toward one coordinate. Not the palace. Not the planet. Somewhere deeper. Far beyond the system boundary. A place the map refused to label. Just a blank zone. The advisor's voice dropped. That is where the shadow originated. Adrien felt something tighten in his chest. So it's back. No one corrected him, because the truth was simpler. It never left. It was only waiting for the fleet to wake up. And now it had.